The military child, just like a military spouse, like a military family, has to get used to transitioning and transitioning frequently.
Where they walk away from things easily because they're used to transitioning so much. And so we have to pay attention to that as well.
Routines create a sense of reassurance. If you can remind them through just kind of reassuring them, somebody is definitely here for you.
Welcome to Veterans in Transition, where we promote the veteran community. Each week, we travel around the region highlighting veteran-related news, issues, and events. In this episode, military life can be a source of psychological stress for many children. Multiple deployments, frequent moves, and having a parent injured or die is a reality. During this Our Power panel, the discussion, Military Children in Transition. Correspondent Miguel Sierra has this story.
A member of the Conduit family, led by my brother, Dr. X, in the back over there. I see you, X. And at this moment, I would like my panelists to introduce themselves. Tell us a little bit about yourselves. Start with where you're from and end with your favorite food.
Oh, all right. Well, greetings, everybody. I am Dr. Heather Lewis. I love to be called Doc Heather. I am a Department of Navy veteran. I actually put on the Marine Corps uniform as well. It said Army in the portfolio, so I just wanted to correct that, Department of Navy. I am actually from Huntsville, Alabama, but I was raised here in Maryland, Southern Maryland, and I love to say I'm just a global person because I've traveled the world. I've been very blessed to travel the world. The favorite food, I'm going to have to stick with my collard greens. So if you think you cook it well, I challenge you to say, maybe not. Okay.
Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Dwayne Buckingham. I'm a licensed clinical psychotherapist, president and CEO of Buckingham Consultant Group, where we provide consultant, coaching, and training. I am a 22-year vet. Spent time in the Air Force, stationed all over the places like most individuals, transitioned to the Public Health Service, and retired total 22 years. I am from St. Louis, Missouri, the show me state. So don't tell me, show me. And my favorite food, I would have to say spaghetti because it came in bulk and we grew up poor and you can feed the masses. I'm 7, I'm the second youngest of 8. So, we had to make it work. So spaghetti made it work. Yeah.
Yes. Good morning and afternoon. I am Latoya Thompson, author, coach, and educator. I have spent the last 22 years of my career with students from K through 12 as an instructional leader, of course, within the academic setting, and I am just elated to be here. I am from Los Angeles, California, and relocated to Maryland, and my twin sister is not too far from me, so that's always a plus. My favorite food would have to be any fabulous salad. I will eat it up, yeah.
It's a wide range right there. When you say salad, that can go so many different ways. But I got you. Good answer, good answer. All right, so in today's conversation, again, right, dealing with children of service members that are transitioning out of the military, what are some of the challenges that you guys have seen from your seats, from your perspective, that children face? And are there any differences in what you've noticed as far as when the parents ETS, right, 10 years, 5 years, 4 years, whatever it is, as opposed to folks that retired, after 20 years? And I'll start with you, Dr. Heather.
So I'm going to say, I think the number one issue is change. The military child, no matter whether it's just a PCS or ETS, like that temporary change or the retirement change, it's a change. The military child, just like a military spouse, like a military family, has to get used to transitioning and transitioning frequently. That's a big one. I think we're just kind of acknowledging what is the difference between that and what we would traditionally see in the U.S. as far as a family household, is the change. How often we change, where are we going? There definitely are some pluses. I just kind of want to point out the biggest plus would be that I get to see a new state, I get to see a new place. But the changes that are usually hurtful are I leaving friends. We get to have a lot of mobile. We learned how to be virtual long before the world learned how to be virtual. We learned how to have pen pals before really everybody else gained that benefit in social media setting type thing, because we had to understand that we left our friend after 2 to 3 years, and that could have been an overseas family, and then we moved back to the States. And so we kept in touch by writing letters or doing, once we got virtual and got onto electronic video, connecting with, and we still have those connections, and that's for the adults and the children.
Yeah, I'd like to piggyback on that. Yeah, there's some benefit of obviously being able to develop relationships. But on the other side of that, I think sometimes we also with children have to help them process the adversity, because change also creates a certain amount of adversity. You're constantly shifting. And what I've seen sometimes from children as well as adults, some have developed this ability to just be able to cut off easily. And so from a mental health professional, I've watched that transition from children to adults where they able to leave relationships at the drop of a dime. And that is a mental health piece that I've seen repeatedly where they walk away from things easily because they're used to transitioning so much. And so we have to, pay attention to that as well.
For me, in the school setting, I would say it's a sense of instability for students, not knowing who's going to pick you up, this week. Is it mom? Is it dad? Is it, grandmother that's going to show up on my behalf? So that has been a huge factor when interacting with children, is trying to help them to find balance and comfort between whatever that challenge is, whoever is the person that is departing. So that sense of instability, and then remembering to remind them that routines, and parents as well, to remind them that routines create a sense of reassurance for children. So if you can get them into a consistent habit of doing something, even when they are transitioning and experiencing that adjustment that they have to make, if you can remind them through just kind of reassuring them, somebody is definitely here for you. You have a community around you, that tends to bring them back to a level of security where they understand that, okay, this is something that's happening to me, but it's not the end of the world. Someone will still always be present. And then I also think and consider, when they are in that period of transitioning, giving them some clarity on what is transpiring. If you can reach out to a school that your child is going to be attending, that is going to be something that's beneficial to help them, because then there are some practices, different routines that can be put into place before that transition might occur. So just giving them a sense of reassuring them that life is still going to go on. You still will thrive even in this process.
Greetings. I am Chief Warrant Officer 5, retired Nicole Woodyard. I would like to thank all of the supporting women of our nation, and especially our sisters in arms. Thank you for your service, and thank you for your support.
For over 30 years, Systems Application and Technologies Incorporated has a strong history of providing a broad range of professional and technical services to government and commercial entities. We specialize in operations and maintenance engineering, information technology, and logistics support services. We pride ourselves on maintaining an experienced and dedicated workforce that is able to respond to emergent customer needs quickly and professionally. For more information about SAY Tech and how we can help achieve your goals, please contact us at any of the following SAY Tech offices.
as you guys were talking, right, I just started reflecting back on my own experience. And I remember my last duty station was Schofield Barracks, Hawaii, right? So Hawaii with my family, like you mentioned, Doc Heather, it was a beautiful experience, right? And I felt a sense of pride in being able to expose my family, my children to, 2.5 years of basically a vacation, right? You know what I mean?
Right.
For them, but not for me. Schofield Barracks, 25th ID, if you know, right? But it was a beautiful experience, and I was very proud of that. And I was very proud of the relationships that we formed. When you're in an environment like Hawaii, where you're kind of secluded from the rest of the states, you build your little communities, right? So we had 2 other families that we became very close to, and that our children became very close. They're basically cousins to this point, to this day. But like you said, when you take them away from that, right, you feel the impact as a parent. Like, you feel the impact that had on you, right? Because the support, even though you have support over here, now it's different, right? It's now like spread out, and you can go places, and you can go to grandma's house. We didn't have that for 2 years, right?
Right.
Is there a sense of security, right, in the fact that we're always moving, right? Mm-hmm. And now you get out of the Army, or whatever other little whack ass service y'all were in. I love myself.
Smart services.
Respect, yeah, they are smart, man. I'm just jealous because I didn't go to the Air Force. I ain't gonna lie. But is there a sense of of insecurity when you get out, and now that transitioning piece, right? And if you have to remember, you know that, right? After 2.5 years at any duty station, you're ready to go. Whether it's good or bad, you're ready to move on. Mm-hmm. And eventually, for your children, right, it's kind of, they expect to move, right? So like you mentioned, they don't form those close relationships. But now here we are, grounded, hopefully stable in a steady place. Could that impact their well-being, their emotional well-being? And if so, how?
So behavioral transitioning is different than mental/cognitive transitioning, right? So behaviorally, we know there's a timeline, we know that there's orders, and we know that we have to move. Now, what we do with that mentally, what I encourage parents to do is you have to sit with your child and process that, because they are ready for the move behaviorally, but do you sit down and process with them how they feel emotionally? Are we having those conversations? Because we develop that mindset, we gotta go, we march when we march. And unfortunately, we create in our households the expectation that they begin to accept that. The problem that I have with that is that they can develop that, and in everything there's good and bad. And so the good, to me, with their ability to be able to be flexible and to be able to adapt at any given moment, that's a strength. We would look at that as being resiliency. However, if it's keeping them stuck and they have not been able to process how they feel about the loss of moving forward, they become numb to those emotions and just keep moving. And then they end up seeing me as adults. I do a lot of marriage therapy, and they go into these relationships, and when it's time to go, they go, and there's no conversation.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
I can agree with that. I'm thinking about the process of collaborative conversations, even from a classroom perspective, where when you sit down with children, I remember growing up in my household, if my mom said it, that was it, right? So yeah, there are no questions that follow that. But it's different now when we're interacting with children today. So giving them that opportunity to sit down with you and collaboratively come up with, okay, this is the situation that is transpiring. We are relocating, we are moving. There will be changes that you have to encounter, but allowing them to process what's happening, and then how are they collectively adding to what is happening with the family. We're all going through a change. It's not just the parents that are experiencing the change, it's them too. And a lot of times it is going to affect them more so than you think it's affecting you, because they are losing a lot of friendships. They're losing what has become a balance for them, what's familiar. So when you allow them to be a part of the conversation and clarify any of the misconceptions that they have about this transition, or clarify any of, those anxiety type of patterns that might persist within a child because they don't know what's happening, you allow them a seat at the table and that helps them with that transition as well.
Okay, so a lot of things was just mentioned, and I did not mention earlier what type of doctor I am. I am a primary care. Thank you, I appreciate that. But primary care doctor, but I was trained as an internist, analytical, and it was something that was said, emotions. So can we stop right there? Emotions. How many people talk about emotions, child or not? So that's a conversation to have, to be able to sit down, because you're speaking of the effects of that child growing to adult and having to compartmentalize their emotions and how they're blocking those emotions and becoming unattached and not creating healthy relationships as an adult. But we're just still speaking on the child level, and being able to have those adults in their life be able to sit down and say, hey, what are you feeling? What's your emotions? How many do that? Wow, that's a question. How many adults have that type of conversation? Because many of us don't want to talk about our emotions. I don't want to take over the conversation, but I just want to put that out there because that is a big one. We spoke on wellness this morning. Ms. Bruce, let me say this. Wellness for me says you got to speak about your emotions. I had to allow myself to cry. Military doesn't allow that. That's a weakness in the military. So you have to be strong. So one of the biggest things on my wellness journey was to allow vulnerability, allow crying, allowing emotions. So I want to say that. The other thing is, you mentioned specifically about just in the transition. If you have a younger child like myself, and now I'm post-active duty, and how do I transition that child for, hey, we're used to moving all of the time, and now we're kind of more in a settled, steady state. I have to say two things, I think, and unfortunately, I don't know if the science is perfect on this. I don't know if we've mastered an ideal curriculum on how to have this in this community of military families really have this mastered yet. But I will say two things that I do for my son. One is that we are in therapy. We continuously therapy. Now we have change of therapists, but wherever we have gone, we have kept him in therapy. That's one part of stability. It may be a different therapist, but he knows he's going to get therapy. The other part is we still get to travel. So even though we're not actually moving to a different location, he understands and respects the value of getting, he looks forward to it, okay? If it's been a few months, now he's like, Mommy, when are we gonna go stay in a hotel?
For over 30 years, Systems Application and Technologies Incorporated has a strong history of providing a broad range of professional and technical services to government and commercial entities. We specialize in operations and maintenance engineering, information technology and logistics support services. We pride ourselves on maintaining an experienced and dedicated workforce that is able to respond to emergent customer needs quickly and professionally. For more information about Say Tech and how we can help achieve your goals, please contact us at any of the following Say Tech offices.
Greetings. I am Chief Warrant Officer 5, retired Nicole Woodyard. I would like to thank all of the supporting women of our nation, and especially our sisters in arms. Thank you for your service and thank you for your support.
Again, this emotional thing is so important. We're talking about transition. So I'm going to sit with that for a quick moment because, again, these are the kind of things I say to my clients we can't drive by. And I only say I would stick with it for a moment because culturally speaking, regardless of the branch, most of us adult, we've been ingrained in this suck it up, keep it moving kind of mindset. And so the emotional regulation, how do you teach a child something that you don't do well yourself? And that becomes a problem because managing emotions is a skill. It's not just a cognitive process. It is a skill, and a skill develops with practice. So how many of us have been told, get ready, pack the bags, you got to go. And then what we begin to do is convince ourselves to look at all the good and minimize the challenges. And so that's where we go wrong, I believe. When we look at emotional intelligence, I teach a great deal on that. Self-awareness, then you have to have self-regulation, social awareness, and then relationship management. The problem when we're transitioning, we're managing relationships. We're focusing on the relationship, which is the fourth domain of emotional intelligence. We're not focusing on the social awareness of how am I sitting with this move, and then how am I regulating how I feel, and then more importantly, as a parent, social awareness, a big component of it is empathy, putting yourself in your child's shoes and understanding that what they can understand intellectually about the move is not the same experience and emotional. And so that's a big part of me for transitioning with whatever it is that you sit with them kids. And if you don't have the skills, get into therapy, because again, how can you teach what you don't know? How do you teach a child to be emotionally resilient when you've been told your whole life, suck it up? And through socialization, I'll say this and I'll stop. I see it with parents who do this, and it's real easy. A little scenario where we say to a young boy, falls down, he hurts himself, we say, get up, big boys don't cry. Little girl fall down, she hurts herself, we say, oh baby, it's okay. Through the socialization process, whether it's transitioning in life and period, we socialize our kids to deal with trauma without processing their emotions.
Hey man, you see what happened? Anybody else notice what happened? How they just shifted the whole conversation to like life skills? Like it went from like talking about military kids to just life in general, right? Couple of key points you guys made, right? Understanding your emotions. I'm a big advocate for teaching myself and my children to not try to control your emotions, but control how you respond to your emotions. If you can acknowledge and allow your emotions to run through your system, mental and physical, you're gonna learn how your body responds to these emotions, and you can control how you respond to the emotions, right? I always tell this story, man. If you heard it before, I apologize, but it's good, right? So my son Marcos is here, but Mateo's here too. But you know, Marcos. This is a story about Marcos, real quick. So about 2 years ago now, he was what? You were 9 years old, maybe 10 at the time, and we're sitting down at home watching Selena. Anybody watch the movie Selena? Jennifer Lopez should have got an Academy Award for that film, because when I said Selena, you automatically went to
Jennifer Lopez.
and not Selena, right? Terrible actors, but come on, man. She should have got an Academy Award. One of my favorite movies of all time, right? And I'm watching the movie with my son, and he gets into the flick. Like, he's like in front of the TV, you know what I'm saying? Watching the beautiful story that is. And I'm in my head like, man, it's gonna kill him in about an hour or so, right? And because I don't know if you remember the movie, but it just hits you like that. The movie goes, and then it just like, she died. And his response, I hope you don't mind me saying this, but his response was like, what? Just like that, right? He was like, what? And immediately started crying, right? Now, I'm in the back, right? We're sitting in the dark. He doesn't know this. He's about to know now, God. But I'm in the back, you know what I'm saying? Like I feel you, little dude, because I want to cry right now. But society tells me what? Boy, nah, man, don't cry. Now, I'm encouraging and accepting and acknowledging my son's emotions and crying. I understand why he's doing it. I'm not telling him don't cry. Well, at the same time, I'm sitting here still stigmatized, right? Because what I want to say is, like, I want to make sure you guys understand how powerful stigma is. How it can carry us to, in that moment, to this day, 2 years later, he just finding out that I was struggling through. Yeah, I get it, little man. Right? I'm feeling what you're feeling. I'm not only am I acknowledging what you're feeling, but bro, I meet you where you are, because I'm right there with you. But I couldn't allow myself to do that, because as a father, right, it was like I still gotta protect him. You know what I'm saying? And it was powerful because, you know, that movie changed his little life. I know it did. You know, he listened to Bitty Bitty Bam Bam and Como La Flor now. Every time he gets emotional, bro. Like, I acknowledge it because I'm right there with him, right? No, he had a hard time with that movie. But the point that I'm making with that is that we have to do a lot of work on ourselves in order for us to be able to help our children and guide them in the proper direction.
Greetings. I am Chief Warrant Officer 5, retired Nicole Woodyard. I would like to thank all of the supporting women of our nation, and especially our sisters in arms. Thank you for your service and thank you for your support.
My parents both went to the Coast Guard Academy. My mom was in the first class of women to attend the Coast Guard Academy. She started in 1976 and made it through and graduated in 1980. And then the day after graduation from the Coast Guard Academy, my parents got married and went off to their first duty station together. They were on different ships, so they went different places, but always ended up, stationed together, not deployed at the same time. So to grow up in a military family with dual military parents who stayed in full 20, I think my dad was in 20, my mom was in almost 30 years. It didn't seem like a real hardship because we enjoyed the moments we had together and didn't dwell on the ones that we had to spend apart. And I think it made our nuclear family that much stronger and that much closer. So that's sort of what I've hoped to instill in my kids and, with my husband, because it's always, you never know when you're going to get to spend your next Christmas with the people that you love.
That's all for this edition of Veterans in Transition. We ask that you like, share, and follow us on social media. If you have a story to tell, reach out to us at info@vetsintransition.com. And remember, stay relevant and on purpose. Until next time.